disruptive.
America that I fought for.
Weird thing to happen. So guess what? It happened again, folks. Joe Biden. It was funny at first, but the show does sometimes have to end. The circus can't go on forever. Joe Biden made another gaffe of himself at a NATO summit. And we already showed you how NATO is not happy with Biden's cognizance right now. They're not happy at the fact that they can't have an 81-year-old smile and pretend that and fool people to believe that war is good still. Especially with his cognitive features. So here's Joe Biden at the summit, NATO summit here, and you tell me how this played out. Because some people heard one thing, a lot of people heard the other. So this is him talking about, I'm assuming, this guy's wife from the context here. Well, let's see it for her.
Secretary, you've guided this alliance through one of the most consequential periods in its history. I realize, I was talking to your wife, I personally asked you to extend your service. Forgive me.
So to me, it sounds like I blanked another man's wife. Forgive me? Forgive me? It sounded like that. It sounded sounded in that direction. I know it was kind of muffled there. Joe Biden's a bit of a muffler there. And maybe, I know, maybe intentionally trying to say something else, something more keen and kinder and cleaner. But it definitely sounded, well, you judge for yourself.
Secretary, you've guided this alliance through one of the most consequential periods in its history. I realize, I was talking to your wife, I personally asked you to extend your service. Forgive me.
You know how embarrassing it is when the sign language expert that's trying to mimic his speech is having the cringe face. Look at her face. Look at her face. She's trying to hold in, not bursting in laughter on how absurd that I am signing for this idiot. You can clearly see in her face, like, I can't believe I'm paid money to do sign language for this asshole. I can't believe this. I can't believe this. So let's hear this one more time very carefully, and you tell me what it sounds like to you. It's kind of like a guessing game.
Secretary, you've guided this alliance through one of the most consequential periods in its history. I realize, I was talking to your wife, I personally asked you to extend your service. Forgive me.
Yeah, it definitely does sound like I'm fucking your wife. Can you forgive me? God bless America. God bless the Biden America. And he goes to a NATO summit and mentions about banging another man's wife. Can you forgive me? With a creepy smile on his... To the point where the sign language expert is in cringe, is trying to hold in the laughter as much as possible. Because she knows if she burst in laughter, she wouldn't have that job. She'd definitely be fired. How can you make Joe Biden look bad? By sign language. Oh, dear God. And that's not all to this story, folks. Because after his embarrassing radio interview in Philadelphia, which we showed beforehand, how a radio host, a black radio host, got fired because she made Joe Biden apparently look bad for the fact that Joe Biden stumbled on his own questions. Joe Biden was rehearsed on those questions. They gave the questions to the interviewer, and Joe Biden still stumbles on them. Still, after clearly giving the radio host questions and rehearsed it in a pre-interview, Joe Biden still fumbles on his face. Still falls flat on his face. And here he is trying to recuperate after that, and it's even more of a disaster. Listen to this.
But look, even when I was running for Senate, and each time I ran, quite frankly, not a joke, Philadelphia in particular got me across the line. No, I'm not joking. No, I mean it seriously, organizationally and in terms of fundraising, the whole deal. But look, here's the deal. This election is going to be about block and tackling, simple, basic politics. Simple. It's going to be a matter of how many signs we get out, how many doors we knock on, how many calls we make, and how many requests we answer.
And here's the little fun fact for you folks. Philadelphia is not in Delaware. He was the senator for Delaware. Philadelphia is not a part of it. That probably is why Frankenstein monster, John Fetterman in the back there, did not applaud to that. Did not applaud to Joe Biden. It's literally immaculate that even John Fetterman can't even comprehend how Joe Biden can stumble on that. And of course, Joe Biden knows that he screwed up because his go-to, his safety net is saying, no, for real. Trust me, for real. No joke. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. He does that to save himself. He does that as a guard. He does that as a tick. When he knows he screws up, that's a nervous tick of his. No. Trust me. I know. Believe me. I'm still running for Senate. If anyone's ever seen those videos, it's so hilarious. The fact that still, like, you're the president of the United States, you're re-electing, and you go to rallies and you're saying, I'm running for Senate. Like I said, it's funny to laugh until you realize that this man has the ability to press the nukes. This is the guy responsible for everything in America, including its safety and security. And it just, I bite my tongue to ever imagine a situation where Joe Biden actually screws up, maybe hits the button thinking it's ice cream, or the call button, or the nurse is going to come by, click, and the worst disaster of mankind happens. I mean, the disaster's already happening, folks, but beyond that, I mean, the fact that John Fetterman doesn't agree should say a lot about this. And this is why even donors to this point, even top donors, even top elites, as Joe Biden would say, even though it's the elites that got him into office, are turning their back away from him. They're realizing that Joe Biden is far off the cliff. He's at rock bottom. There's no saving him. There's no returning back. He is done, folks. So now what? Now what?